They weren't supposed to survive the cold. They weren't supposed to climb mountains. But they did, and Rome nearly crumbled because of it. Imagine this. You're a Roman soldier, battle-hardened and proud. You're used to swords, shields, maybe the occasional cavalry. And then, in the misty distance, you see it, something massive, something you've never seen before in your life. A towering beast with tusks like spears, charging straight at you. That's not a monster. That's Hannibal's war elephant. In this video, we're diving into one of the most outrageous military gambits in ancient history. How a young Carthaginian general marched an army and a squad of African war elephants across the freaking Alps to strike fear straight into the heart of Rome. You're going to see how this wild gamble almost worked, how elephants became the tanks of the ancient world, and why this legendary move still makes military historians shake their heads in disbelief today. Stick around till the end, because the twist in the story isn't just in the Alps. Let's rewind to the 3rd century BCE. Rome is on the rise. They've already beaten Carthage once in the First Punic War. But Carthage isn't done. Not even close. Now picture Hannibal Barca. He's not just some general. He's the son of Hamilcar Barca, a Carthaginian hero who basically raised his kid on one rule: hate Rome. Forever. Some kids get bedtime stories. Hannibal got revenge plots. At just 9 years old, legend says Hannibal swore an oath, literally over a sacrificial altar, that he'd never stop fighting Rome. Not exactly your average childhood promise, right? So when Rome and Carthage start butting heads again over Spain, Hannibal sees his chance. He's young, brilliant, and full of fire. And instead of playing defense, he does the unthinkable. He decides to bring the war to Rome. But here's the kicker: he can't just sail into Italy. The Romans control the seas. So what does Hannibal do? He looks to the land, through Spain, through Gaul, and then through the Alps. Wait, what? This isn't just some hiking trail. The Alps are brutal. High altitudes, ice, snow, steep cliffs, landslides, barbarians who don't exactly roll out the welcome mat. And he's got an army of around 50,000 men, plus cavalry, plus nearly 40 elephants. Yeah, actual elephants, marching, in the snow. It sounds like a suicide mission, but Hannibal's got a plan. Before the Alps, though, there's Spain. Hannibal starts by securing control over key cities, like Cartagena, which becomes his launchpad. He storms through eastern Spain, crushing resistance, building alliances with local tribes, and gathering troops. Rome? They're too slow to react. They don't see what's coming. And then in 218 BCE, the madness begins. Hannibal leads his army across the Pyrenees into Gaul. But it's no easy stroll. They lose men to ambushes, supply issues, even desertions. Hannibal has to be ruthless. He pushes through enemy territory, dodging Roman spies, negotiating with local tribes when possible, fighting them when not. But the real nightmare begins when they reach the Alps. Now, let's paint this picture. It's early winter, wind slicing through armor like knives. Men are freezing, supplies are running out. The paths are narrow, barely wide enough for men, let alone elephants. Some soldiers lose their footing and fall hundreds of feet to their deaths. One storm causes a rock slide that buries dozens alive. And then, the elephants. Oh man. These poor beasts weren't meant for this terrain. They slip, they panic, some fall and never get back up. But Hannibal knows the psychological power these animals have. If even a handful survive, they'll shatter Roman morale. And after more than 2 weeks of hell, Hannibal does the impossible. He descends into Italy, but he doesn't have 50,000 men anymore. After crossing the Alps, he's down to maybe 20,000 infantry, 6,000 cavalry, and about a few elephants left, most of them sick or exhausted. But even with a decimated army, He's now behind enemy lines, deep in Roman territory, and the Romans are scrambling. And guess what? They completely underestimated him. The Romans thought he'd never survive the mountains. They were wrong. And now, they've got a full-blown crisis. Enter the Roman army. Tough, disciplined, proud, but also cocky. Their first clash with Hannibal happens at the Battle of the Ticinus River. And right away, things get spicy. Hannibal uses his cavalry, especially his deadly Numidian horsemen, to outflank the Romans. These aren't your usual riders. They're like ghosts on horseback, fast, nimble, savage. The Roman cavalry gets torn apart, and a young Roman commander named Publius Cornelius Scipio barely escapes with his life. That name will come back later. By the way, next, it's Trebia River. Hannibal knows how to play mind games. He lures the Roman army out of their camp on a freezing morning, without breakfast, without proper gear. Meanwhile, his troops are hidden, well-fed, and ready. The Romans march into a trap. As they cross the icy river, Hannibal's forces ambush them from all sides, including his remaining elephants, who charge into panicked Roman lines. It's a massacre. Over 25,000 Romans die. And it doesn't stop there. The next year, Lake Trasimene. This is pure Hannibal genius. He sets up an ambush in a narrow valley along the lake. The Romans march straight into it. As fog blankets the area, Carthaginian soldiers rain down from the hills. The Romans are boxed in front, back, sides. No escape. Over 15,000 die in a few hours. The lake literally turns red with blood. Rome is now in full-blown panic. Politicians are freaking out. Families are hiding their sons. And Roman citizens start whispering, maybe the gods have abandoned us. So the Senate appoints a dictator, Fabius Maximus. His strategy? Avoid direct battles. Starve Hannibal out. Delay him. Hannibal mocks this. He marches around Italy like he owns the place. He burns farms, destroys towns, tries to provoke battles. But Fabius stays firm. He plays the long game. Still, Rome grows impatient. They want blood. They want victory. So in 216 BCE, they assemble the biggest army in Roman history so far, over 85,000 men. They want to crush Hannibal once and for all. This leads us to the Battle of Cannae. Now, if you're still here, this is where things go absolutely insane. Cannae is Hannibal's masterpiece. This battle is still taught in military academies today. Why? Because it's the perfect trap. Hannibal sets up his army in a crescent shape, with his weakest troops in the center. Behind them, the stronger ones. And he puts his cavalry on the flanks. The Romans, thinking they can break through the center, charge headfirst. And it works, at first. The Carthaginian center starts to buckle. The Romans push deeper, but then Hannibal's flanks swing inward, like a closing door. The Roman army gets encircled, completely surrounded. They're crushed from all sides, with nowhere to run. It's a slaughter. Over 50,000 Romans die. In a single day, some historians say it might have been 70,000. Blood drenched the fields. Roman soldiers were suffocating in the crush before they could even swing their swords. And yes, elephants were there too, terrorizing the edges, causing chaos and panic among cavalry and support troops. Rome had never seen anything like this. They were humiliated, crushed. And Hannibal? He doesn't march on Rome. Wait, what? Yeah, that's the big twist. After Cannae, instead of striking the city, Hannibal waits. He thinks Rome will surrender. He thinks allies will switch sides. Some do, especially in the south, but not all. And more importantly, Rome doesn't give in. They adapt. They rebuild. Slowly. Meanwhile, Hannibal is stuck. He doesn't have enough siege equipment to breach the Roman walls. He's deep in enemy territory, and reinforcements from Carthage barely trickling in. His elephants die off one by one, not in battle, but from cold, starvation, or age. The last one, named Surus, was said to be Hannibal's personal favorite. It had a broken tusk and wore red armor. That beast outlasted almost all the others, standing as a symbol of fear for years. But by now, the psychological edge is fading. Rome changes tactics. A young general named Scipio Africanus, yeah, remember him? Begins to strike back. He campaigns in Spain, cuts off Carthaginian resources, and eventually sails to North Africa. Hannibal is forced to abandon Italy after 15 years of terror. They face off in 202 BCE at the Battle of Zama. And this time, it's Hannibal who gets outplayed. Scipio learned from him. He neutralizes the elephants. He uses flexible formations. And he crushes the Carthaginian army. Hannibal survives, but Carthage is done. Rome becomes the supreme power in the Mediterranean. But even in defeat, Hannibal's legend only grows. Think about it. He took on the most powerful empire of his time, with fewer men, in enemy territory, without constant reinforcements, and nearly won. His use of elephants wasn't just dramatic, it was psychological warfare. It was about shock, fear, chaos. Today, Hannibal's Alpine March is still considered one of the boldest military moves in human history. His name lives on in strategy books, war colleges, even pop culture. And those elephants, they weren't just animals. They were symbols of the impossible. So, next time someone tells you something can't be done, just remember, Hannibal marched elephants across the Alps and almost brought Rome to its knees.